Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Jim, and I'm here to talk about Meshtastic. So, over the last 2 to 3 weeks, we've seen an increase of almost 2,000 people to the Meshtastic Facebook group. So, I thought it was about time that I ought to introduce myself and say what I've been up to and what's going on. So, this weekend's been a really good weekend. We've been up and over some hills. We've been through some urban environments as well. There's a friend of mine who I've met through the Facebook group called Lee. He's over the Halesoe in Romsey direction, and we've been having a bit of a personal challenge between him and myself to see if we can make direct contact with each other. He's about 25 kilometres away from me. We've more or less got line of sight with just a couple of things in the way. It's been quite challenging. We have finally managed to make contact. However, neither one of us has been at the end of a node in order to receive a live message. But the fact that that's happened now, that just proves some progress. We've swapped about with some aerials and we've just sort of changed orientation of a couple of bits of equipment and that sort of thing. Lee's been a great help, actually. Meshtastic itself is new to me. So I've been doing it for about 6 weeks now. Lee was one of the most vocal guys that kind of answered a lot of my questions on the group to start with. He advised on different antennas and different pieces of equipment and basically like the ins and outs of how the firmware works. All of that has paid off, and we have obviously proven that and successfully made contact. So moving on from that, I actually got approached by Murray from the Facebook group asking if I'd like to be an admin. So that's what I've done, and that's now what I'm doing. And because of the engagement that I've had with the community over the last few weeks as being an admin, I thought I ought to throw a video together and dust off my old YouTube channel and post something out there. So this weekend, been a really great weekend for me. I'm sure some of you have seen this little bad boy that I created recently. It's just a standard Heltec V3 with a fancy aerial on it that, again, Lee sent me a link to. But that's managed to reach a node all the way down in Bristol from the top of Clee Hill, which is over 100 kilometres. I think it's 103.3 kilometres, which for me is definitely a personal best. The trace route on that showed that it was just a direct link, so it wasn't via any other nodes. That was a direct link, so I'm super happy with that. Unfortunately, I didn't get to message the Bristol node just purely because I didn't actually notice the fact that I'd made the contact until I'd started to walk back off the hill. By which time I was pretty much halfway down by the time that I hadn't got a live link, and I thought, it's too windy, it's too cold, I'm not going back up there. I've ticked the box, I've got the screenshots, so I'm really happy with that. So moving forwards, there's been some great conversations in the group about the potential of secret nodes. That's something that super interests me, to create a much wider, much bigger mesh across the UK. I mean, I'd like to be able to turn on a Saturday morning and be able to speak to somebody on the East Coast. I think that'd be absolutely fantastic. Some of the techniques that are being discussed in the posts seem really interesting. Solar's been a big thing for me. I'm sure some of you have seen in some of my previous posts that I've got a node in an IP-rated box on top of a 6-metre flagpole in the garden. That has a small, like a security camera solar panel on it, which just about sustains a charge over about a 72-hour period. It definitely covers the weekend anyway. The solar node outside, I'm sure some of you know, is called Klaus Top. It seems like it's become quite a local challenge now for the people in Midlands to be able to contact the Klaus Top station, which is really great. I've equipped it with some weather detecting equipment, and basically what that'll do is it'll just see what the barometric pressure is, the temperature and the humidity, and it just broadcasts it out. I think I've set it for every 15 minutes, something like that. So if you're tuned into the local area, you'll get a more accurate weather report than you'll probably see on any media channels and outlets. On the subject of secret projects, myself, a chap called Chris and a chap called Lee are working together on a secret project that's involving some complicated electronics that is equipped with a GPS and a barometric pressure sensor, which should give you a bit of a clue as to what's going to be happening with that. But there's more to come on that in the future. Not going to say too much about it just at the moment because I'm not 100% sure if it's going to come off at the moment, so don't want to look too silly about that. Looking forward to that. Another subject I'd like to talk about is MQTT. I've seen a lot of messages recently on the groups, various different Facebook groups, about MQTT messages flooding into LoRa or mesh networks. Some people have reported up to 20 and 30 additional nodes in the space of about an hour that are coming in from the internet via somebody who is rebroadcasting MQTT into the mesh. Now, for me personally, the reason why I joined Meshtastic was to explore long-range off-grid comms. Now, the way I see it is MQTT isn't off-grid because it's net, isn't it? So the concept of being off-grid is that you don't have any net. So I think there needs to be some sort of discipline or some radio etiquette installed for anybody who uses MQTT, which is fine if that's their bag. That's fine. Personally, doesn't interest me. I know it doesn't interest a few other members. But I think that we need to look at keeping the mesh as just the mesh and then having MQTT as a separate thing for those who aren't interested in MQTT. I wouldn't even know how to set it up, to be quite honest with you. I've never looked at it. Like I say, it doesn't interest me. And I would be fairly disappointed if I was up on top of Clee Hill trying to contact Bristol at 103.3 kilometres, and then all of a sudden a load of MQTT stuff comes through from another country. That would defeat the object for me, and I'd find that challenging to be able to compete against in terms of a long-range radio. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on that, and then perhaps, I don't know, we might be able to create a separate group or start doing some sort of etiquette or some sort of policy on it. I don't know. It's just totally blank canvas on that one. So I know there are people for it, I know there are people against it. It would be interesting to get people's views on that and then see what we can do moving forwards. Okay, so finally from me, the next sort of thing or task that I'm going to try and accomplish is next weekend, next Sunday, I'm going to try and climb the Malvern Hills in sort of South Worcestershire. From where I am at the moment, sort of North Worcestershire area, I'm starting to get hold of nodes down in Bristol, down in the Newport area of Wales. So it's quite obvious to me that there are a few folks down that way. I've seen on the groups that there are some people, Plymouth, Devon, that sort of way. So the main thing that's stopping me from getting out down that area at the moment is the Malvern Hills in terms of line of sight. So I'm going to go stand at the top of them and then see what I can get south from the top of that hill. So look out for that. No doubt I'll be able to contact Lee, because Lee just seems to be able to contact absolutely everybody, which is really good, really encouraging to see. So hopefully we'll be able to have that live conversation instead of coming back, a couple of hours later and picking up a message that did come through, but wasn't being able to read that live. So yeah, that's my plan. So why don't you let me know in the comments below what your plans are this week, what your challenges are, what your achievements have been, and then that's it. I'll see you all next week.